All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at a country that's facing one of the most extreme demographic crises in the world. But its solution? Well, it's probably not what you'd expect. South Korea is betting its entire future on artificial intelligence to solve problems that feel deeply, fundamentally human. To really get the stakes here, you have to start with this number: 49.6%. That's the poverty rate for the elderly in South Korea. It is, by a massive margin, the highest in the entire developed world. And you know, this isn't just some abstract statistic. It's a full-blown social emergency that really sets the stage for everything else.
And the government, they absolutely know it. In June of 2024, they made this official. They actually declared a population national crisis. Now, this isn't just politicians talking. This was a signal to everyone that, okay, the old rule book is out the window. Radical, unconventional ideas are now officially on the table.
So what does this crisis actually look like on the ground? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a perfect storm of really tough challenges, and they're all feeding into each other, pushing the nation to a kind of breaking point.
And what's so wild is how these problems are all tangled together. I mean, in 2024, Korea officially became a super-aged society. That's more than 1 in 5 people being elderly. At the very same time, its fertility rate just cratered, dropping to 0.75, the lowest on Earth. So you have this huge demographic squeeze. Then you add a youth crisis, with over 500,000 young people so disconnected they're basically off the grid. And on top of it all, you have the simple, crushing reality of city life, like in Seoul, where traffic jams alone cost the economy $7 billion every single year.
Which brings us to the central question of all this, the one that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. How can lines of code and raw data possibly fix a crisis of birth and aging and even loneliness? This is the pivot, right here, where Korea's strategy gets really, really fascinating.
The answer, it turns out, is a massive, high-stakes, nationwide bet on artificial intelligence. And we're not talking about some small pilot program. We are talking about a level of financial commitment that completely redefines what a national priority is.
So the strategy kicks off with a solid foundation of public money. More than $12 billion being pumped into the country's core AI research and infrastructure.
But that's just for starters. On top of that, they're going right for the jugular with a separate, massive $30 billion fund. This one is aimed specifically at the fertility and aging crisis.
And then they brought in the heavy hitters from the private sector, securing nearly $49 billion in commitments. When you add it all up, you're looking at a unified war chest of almost $90 billion. This isn't just a policy. It's a technological declaration of war on a demographic problem.
But look, all that money is pretty useless without the one key ingredient AI needs to survive: data. And to get it, Korea created something totally unique, a concept that is the real engine of this whole strategy: the data safety zones.
So what are these things? The best way to think of them is like super secure digital sandboxes. Inside these 14 zones, teams from both the government and private industry get to play with this treasure trove of anonymized but incredibly detailed national data. We're talking healthcare records, pension data, traffic patterns, financial info, all the stuff that's normally locked away in separate government silos. The process itself is surprisingly simple, but wow, is it powerful. Step 1. Teams get access to the data. Step 2, they compete to build the best AI models to solve specific problems. And then step 3, this is the crucial part. The winning solutions don't just get a pat on the back. They get fast-tracked and turned into actual national policy. It's a direct pipeline from an algorithm to government action.
What's really telling, though, is seeing how this whole strategy has evolved over time. If you look at the winning projects from one year to the next, you can see this dramatic shift. A pivot away from big general ideas to hyper-focused human solutions.
This comparison says it all, really. In 2023, the winners were tackling these broad regional issues, things like rural development or regional economics. Important, for sure, but a little abstract. Then you look at 2024. The focus sharpened like a razor. Now we're talking about AI to help elderly people get around, tools to improve disability access, and even programs to make sure at-risk kids are getting breakfast.
So, the key takeaway here is that this wasn't just a change in topics,
It was a fundamental shift in philosophy. The strategy moved from using AI for production, things like smart farms or factory consultant, to using it for service delivery. The goal shifted from helping industries to directly helping vulnerable people.
So that brings us to what's next. And based on government budgets and policy papers, we have a pretty clear picture of where all this AI firepower is going to be aimed. These are the big priority targets for 2025. And no surprise at all, the overwhelming priority is demographics and social welfare. I mean, that's the heart of the crisis. But what's really telling is what's right behind it: smart urban management and healthcare AI. It shows the focus isn't just on patching problems, but on building the entire support system for an aging society.
And this is where it all comes full circle. The highest priority projects connect right back to those problems we started with. They're building AI to coordinate care for the elderly, create models to predict dementia risk, and, this is a big one, developing systems to match jobs and housing for those 540,000 socially withdrawn young people to try and bring them back into the fold.
The other high-priority areas are just as tangible. We're talking about using AI to plan for flying cars, urban air mobility, and to finally untangle Seoul's legendary traffic. They're also using it to bring advanced medical imaging to rural areas and to predict hospital capacity so the healthcare system doesn't collapse under the strain of an older population.
And let's be clear about something. While the main driver here is solving this huge domestic crisis, there's a powerful global ambition at play. The thinking's pretty straightforward. By being forced to solve its own impossible problems, Korea plans to invent the technology that the rest of the world will need tomorrow. The ultimate goal is to become a top 3 global AI power.
So in the end, we're left with this enormous question. Are we watching the birth of a totally new way of governing, one where data and AI are used with surgical precision to solve a society's deepest problems? Or is this a hugely risky techno-utopian experiment, an over-reliance on technology to fix issues that are, at their very core, human? The answer is going to unfold over the next few years, and you can bet the rest of the world will be watching.